Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ask everyone to take their seats.
No.
What?
Just need more. So when we get the odd numbers.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Representative Baker. Representative Blanton. Representative Bowling. Representative Bridges. Representative Chester Burton. Representative Dossett. Representative Flannery. Representative Fugate.
Here.
Representative Hancock.
Here.
Representative Johnson. Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative Miles. Representative Moore.
Here.
Representative Smith. Representative Smith.
He's
Oh. Representative Watkins. Representative Wesley. Representative Whitaker. Representative Williams. Vice Chair Ballman.
Present.
Vice Chair White. And Chair Gooch.
here.
Yep.
We do have a quorum. We approve minutes? No. Okay. All right. Hey, thank everyone for coming out this morning. We have a kind of lengthy agenda for just an hour. We have to be out before 10. The first thing we're going to do is House Bill 667, Representative Ballman. While he's coming to the table, I just want to say that this is a bill that we passed a couple of years ago, and we're kind of clarifying so that people understand what they're supposed to do with this bill. So with that, Representative Baumann, please introduce yourself and have your guests introduce themselves, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jared Baumann, House Representative, District 28.
Good morning. My name is Katie Raverty Evans. I'm with the National Waste Recycling Association, and I'm from Boone County, Kentucky.
Good morning. My name is Jerry McGraw. I am an attorney, but I'm here as a private citizen this morning.
Hi, and I'm Rusty Chris with Dinsmore and Show here on behalf of the Kentucky chapter of the National Waste and Recyclers.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for the opportunity to present House Bill 667 before you this morning. This is, as the chairman already mentioned, a bit of a cleanup to House Bill 135 that we passed through this General Assembly in 2024, because since the enactment of the KRS 109.045, our experience working with the Metro Louisville 109 Solid Waste Management Board have revealed several practical shortcomings in how the statute operates in the real world. And so issues have arisen concerning indirect acquisition of protected information, the role of contractors and consultants, interactions with Open Records Act, and appropriate remedial steps when protected material is obtained. And so to assist in addressing these concerns constructively, we propose House Bill 667 for consideration. The goal here is to ensure the statute functions consistently with the original.
Okay, we have a motion on the bill. Second. Since we have a long agenda today, I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions or comments. If not, ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Representative Baker. Yes. Representative Ballman.
Yes.
Representative Blanton. Representative Bowling. Yes. Representative Bridges. Yes. Representative Chester Burton. Representative Dossett. Representative Flannery. Yes. Representative Fugate.
Yes.
Representative Hancock.
Pass.
Representative Johnson. Yes. Representative McCool.
Pass.
Representative Miles.
Yes.
Representative Moore.
Pass.
Representative Smith. Yes. Representative Watkins. Pass. Representative Wesley. Yes. Representative Whitaker. Pass. Representative White. Yes. Representative Williams.
Yes.
And Chair Gooch.
Yes.
13 yes votes.
Okay. 13 yes votes. The bill does pass with favorable expression. The same should pass on the House floor. Would you Representative Bowman, congratulations, and would you be willing to change seats with me as vice chair of the committee?
Yes, sir. It'd be a pleasure. Thank you.
The next bill we're going to take up is House Bill 677.
Switch seats here. All right, Chairman Gooch, we're going to have House Bill 677 before us now. Please introduce yourself and your guests as well for the record, and then please proceed.
Okay, thank you. I'm Representative Jim Gooch from the 12th District, and I'll let my guests introduce themselves.
My name is Bill Barr. I'm representing the Kentucky Oil and Gas Association.
Tom Fitzgerald of Council, Kentucky Resources Council.
We've never sat this close together before.
I'll note the chairman's reputation is rapidly declining here because of the proximity to me.
I don't think so. This bill is one that's needed for Kentucky to obtain primacy from the EPA over the Class 6 injection wells, which is carbon sequestration. Now, I'm not going to talk much because this is really, I didn't write this bill. This bill is something that's happened over several years where the oil and gas, Kentucky Oil and Gas Work Group, which consisted of energy, consisted of Tom and his group and some other environmental groups, the cabinet, where they've all got together and they've actually come up with some really good legislation relating to capping of oil wells and all types of things like that, oil and gas wells. And
Mr. Chairman, we have a motion on the bill, but I do believe we have an amendment
Yes, we do.
that we'll need to adopt first. We have a motion and a second on the amendment by voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the amendment is adopted. And we have now, Mr. Chairman, a motion on the bill with the amendment attached. Would you like to proceed, or we can move to questions, comments?
could I ask my two guests just briefly make a couple of comments? Sure.
House Bill 677 establishes a legal and regulatory framework for carbon dioxide geological sequestration, which is the placing of carbon dioxide underground and storing it there. The bill gives Kentucky primary oversight with the Energy and Environment Cabinet and aligns the state with federal Class 6 regulations. This is not an environmental bill. This is a economic incentive and development bill. It would allow Kentucky to compete favorably with neighboring states, including West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, regarding the competing for carbon capture investment and supporting existing industrial employers, attract potential infrastructure such as sequestration sites and CO2 transportation networks. We already have projects like those developing within the state of Kentucky, particularly in western Kentucky, and this will help that economic activity.
Chairman, this is the product of 18 months of deliberation. Every sentence has been pored over, has been agreed upon by a interests representing landowners and representing the oil and gas industry. There's some real economic opportunity here. This is not a referendum on climate. This is an economic opportunity and ability to do it well and do it in a way that protects landowners, protects the correlative rights of other mineral owners. And I'm pretty proud of having worked with Bill and with the oil and gas industry over this period of time, and would be happy to entertain any questions that you have, but would encourage your support for the bill.
Thank you, and we will move into questions and commentary. Representative Watkins, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually was going to question or the cliff notes on the amendment, if that's possible here. Is that out of order? To ask for a brief summary of this amendment that we adopted?
We'd be happy to do that.
Sure.
Please proceed.
Yeah, the amendment addresses the liability of landowners, or the pore space owners are presumed to be the surface owner unless that right has been given away by lease or by severance instrument. What the amendment does is to clean up the language regarding the liability that occurs 50 years after the injection has ceased, the area has been monitored to make sure that it's not migrating, it's not affecting other mineral owners, other surface owners, that it's stable and it's staying put. At that point, the liability of the injector, the operator of that project, ceases, the regulatory liability, and is taken over by the state as part of the fund that has been created. It has been funded by the operator or operators over the years. So what it does is say that if a landowner or the pore space owner gets sued for any reason, other than if they muck it up and they cause the leak to occur, then they will be held harmless. The state will defend their claims up to the point where there is money in the fund to defend those claims. So this language cleans that section up and makes clear where the liability goes once the project is done and the CO2 has stayed put for 50 years.
And Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that 50 years is in federal law.
Thank you. Anyone else requesting recognition? All right, seeing none, we're going to vote on House Bill 677 with committee amendment attached. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Baker? Yes. Representative Ballman?
Yes.
Representative Blanton? Representative Bowling? Representative Bridges? Representative Chester Burton? Representative Dossett? Representative Flannery? Yes. Representative Fugate?
Yes.
Representative Hancock?
Yes.
Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Miles?
Yes.
Representative Moore?
Yes.
Representative Smith? Representative Watkins? Representative Wesley? Representative Whitaker? Representative White? Representative Williams?
Yes.
And Chair Gooch.
Yes.
All right, House Bill 677 with committee amendment attached has passed favorably, and the same should pass on the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
It's good to see you.
Next, we're going to take up House Bill 535, Representative Flannery. Representative Flannery, of course, you can, after you introduce yourself and your guest, I do think we have a committee sub.
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. Patrick Flannery, State Representative for the 96th District.
State Representative Derek Lewis.
Mike Kurtz for KIUC, Kentucky Industrial Utility Customers.
Make sure everybody's mics is on.
Sure, go. John Holbrook, I'm business manager with the Tri-State Building and Construction Trades Council.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. We do have a committee sub, if we can take that matter up.
Motion on the sub.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to adopt the sub. Can you just briefly explain the difference in the sub?
Very, very briefly, there were a couple clarifiers.
Can you pull your mic a little closer to you?
And I'm losing my voice today, so
Okay, all right.
maybe this won't take too long, but I just wanted to clarify a couple things. There's a portion of this on a rate freeze. We wanted to clarify that rate freeze would be impact whether the application to the PSC would be denied or not. And then we wanted to address some of the issues that the PSC would have to determine that there is a actual savings to the ratepayer, to clarify that, to make sure that there wasn't any ambiguity on that.
Okay, that's a brief summary of the committee sub. Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this is a meaty bill and it's a meaty sub. One of my understandings was that the committee sub removed language that said that there would be a line item on our utility customers' bills that had the actual fee on there. Can you give me some light on that or some truth to that?
That is true. That's towards the latter part of the section. It's not. Would have to state that that it's been approved that it is a cost reduction to the ratepayer, but it would not show as an actual line item on that. That is true.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second on the committee sub. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Okay, committee sub is adopted, and so now we are discussing House Bill 535 as amended by the committee sub.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Like I said, my voice is not doing too well this morning, so this may be briefer than
I'm sure
than usual.
Representative Lewis, I've never heard his voice. So
I
we
may
heard
have to
it all,
tag
so-
him in here. But as members of this committee, you all are very aware that our country is in a race for energy at this time. Affordability is at the forefront of everyone's mind. We all know that particularly Eastern Kentucky has faced a multitude of challenges over the last decade plus. That would include federally mandated regulations on fossil fuels, particularly the coal industry, loss of industry and jobs, and a out-migration of people from the area. And the cost of energy, like most other costs, has risen drastically in recent years. We very simply need relief. So I want to kind of give a short-term perspective and a long-term perspective on what this bill is trying to accomplish. It does deal with securitization. It would apply to any investor-owned utility that has an out-of-state asset. So one particular investor-owned utility that it would apply to would be Kentucky Power. They do have a coal plant in Mitchell, West Virginia. This bill would authorize securitization, which could not currently happen, of that out-of-state asset. They would have to, any IOU that has an out-of-state asset could petition or apply with the Public Service Commission for securitization. Under this bill and the committee sub, upon application, that IOU would have to agree to a 2-year moratorium, which is a rate freeze. So that would happen under what is pending before this committee, whether the PSC approved the petition or not, because currently they don't have the legal right to do that. So on the short term, whether it's granted or not, there would be a moratorium of 2 years on the rates for that. Also, if it is granted, then that would mean that the Public Service Commission has determined that it is a net benefit. It benefits in cost reduction to the ratepayers in that service territory. Also, in the short term, this would allow, and really the impetus of this would be securitization, would allow the financing of 2 new natural gas units, particularly at the Big Sandy plant in Louisa, Kentucky, that currently exists, has a unit there already, has been in existence for probably over 50 years, probably 60 years plus now. would allow the construction of 2 new natural gas units. I think we're all very aware that we need more generation. Supply and demand is something that is kind of an undefeated rule, and we have increased demand going up. This would allow more generation at that facility. But we're talking about probably in excess of $500 million of a construction project. So in many ways, I see this as a jobs bill for the people in my region, the people that I represent. That's one of the reasons I think Mr. Holbrook is here. We see this as a jobs bill for such a massive construction project that can really be a shot in the arm to our region. And then,
Representative Flannery, can I ask a question?
yes, sir.
When we're talking about, of course, I know the securitization of this plant, I guess that means that the Mitchell plant would no longer be providing the power in this part of East Kentucky, or they at least would until the new generation was online. Is it about the same amount, or will there be more capacity?
I would think that it would be in excess, given the fact that there'd be an additional unit. There is a handout that does list the
800 megawatts.
the megawatts. So you said
I believe it's 400 megawatts.
okay.
And this is the one that members should have this in their packets. So.
Mr. Holbrook indicated that he thought it would be 2 400 megawatt units.
Gas turbines.
400. Okay.
But also I just want to, clarify that Mitchell plant would still, which is a coal plant in West Virginia, that would still exist. That would still be an out-of-state asset for this particular utility.
The securitization is just a means of allowing them to more or less refinance or whatever and get better rates that could benefit customers.
And Mr. Kurtz is much more of an expert on the nuances, and I'll let him speak to some of this on securitization. But I try to simplify it to people. It's like if you had a home in West Virginia, then you had a property in Kentucky. You're basically using your equity in that West Virginia property and renovating your Kentucky home with your equity in that out-of-state property. That's really what we're doing here. And this legislation is just on a much higher level, but you're using that to help finance the construction. So they're actually using their own asset, their own equity in that asset, and that's being stripped to apply for the construction of this. But long term, we get more generation. The more generation we have, that's only can help stabilizing the rates long term. We all know that we need more generation. We hear people come before this committee all the time and talk about in 25 years, we're approaching a very severe crisis. I think this helps keep up with the supply. If we don't have the supply moving forward,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Flannery and Lewis. A question on the securitization. We did securitization a few years ago, and the question was asked, then would it save the ratepayers money? And the answer was yes. But on our bills now, we have in Kentucky Power District, where I live, Perry County, we have a fee that's outside of the actual rate, the base rate that we pay, and I've seen it between $30 and $170 on some bills. I know that this freezes the base rate for 2 years, but will the Public Service Commission be able to, or will Kentucky Power be able to ask for another securitization fee that will be put on the one that is currently there? Will it raise that fee? I know we say base rates, but sometimes I guess that's a simple question. Yep. Will it add another securitization fee on the ratepayers of East Kentucky?
There is a reduction charge. However, that being said, that does factor in to that overall bill would be lower than what it would be without this measure being implemented.
So if I may, Mr.
Go
Chairman.
ahead.
So there will not be an additional securitization fee placed on, or any other fee placed on our customers' bills for 2 years? That's my question, yes or no?
It would reflect that there is a reduction charge on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And but the PSC wouldn't have to make the finding that that bill would be of benefit, would be lower to the ratepayer than otherwise before.
You know, my only concern is right now the additional charges on top of our bills, that the base rate charge may be, in one bill I saw was $15.55, but after everything was added on, the bill was $2,600. And I'm just trying to figure out, will this put another fee on there to raise those rates?
I think Representative Lewis wants to speak.
Thank you, Representative Fugit, for the question. As Representative Flannery stated, this would not be approved unless there was overall savings. So even with a charge on the back end, the existing fee would be higher. And just for clarification, Representative Flannery and I, we've gone back and forth on this bill since the summer. I've got the same people in a neighboring county as you facing the same issues. This isn't a there's not a singular solution to the crisis that we face, and I do believe we face a crisis. That being said, you know, I see Representative Williams there. He had an energy bill this year. I know Bowling had one last year. Representative Bridges has done a lot in the nuclear space. Of course, Chairman Gooch, Representative Bray's done a lot with data centers. Senator Wheeler's done a lot, giving immediate relief during the winter months. And then I believe there's another one dealing with the PSC over in the Senate, I believe. But what I will say is this bill will give our people immediate relief, and it buys us 2 years to find more bills, more solutions to help our people.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Representative Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, it's a meaty bill. It's my understanding that the way this is written, it's going to limit the Public Service Commission's discretion to ability to review the securitization financing options, determining that those bonds are truly the lowest cost options for our customers. Can you give me some clarity there as far as whether this does limit our PSC's option to do those reviews and have that discretion?
No, they would have to determine that. So the utility would have to apply or petition with the PSC, and then they would make that determination. So as I said earlier, if they found that it wasn't to the benefit of the ratepayer under this measure, there still would be a rate freeze. That's a good thing for the ratepayers in that region. So I've talked to a lot of people that just have a lot of heartburn with all this, and they say, I don't, just feel uncomfortable. I get that. I think most of the folks in Eastern Kentucky, we all get that. But this is something that can help. It will lower if found, and like I said, if they find otherwise, it's still a benefit to the ratepayer because there'd be a freeze. And just to kind of amplify what Representative Lewis said, there aren't a lot of easy answers to this, but I'm trying to do something that has short-term relief. We also get hopefully would get a huge shot in the arm. I would call this a jobs bill in many ways that would allow folks throughout Eastern Kentucky to have a very large construction project to work on. It'd probably be in excess of $500 million, which would be a huge benefit as well. And ultimately, long-term, we need more generation. This would give hopefully 2 new units, if approved, that can help with the supply of energy.
And I'll just add on to that, Representative Moore. We do talk about job loss in Eastern Kentucky, and just as if you're going to have job creation, you need a hospital. You have to be able to meet the energy supply as well, and we're not there right now. And this would be a path to that.
I would add to under this committee sub, whatever is submitted to the Public Service Commission would also have to be submitted to us as a legislative body to review, would have to be sent to the Attorney General's Office of Rate Intervention for them to review, and would also have to be sent to EPIC, the new Energy Planning and Inventory Commission. So there's complete transparency on the front end as to what is in that application to PSC.
Thank you for that answer, and I know some of that was a repeat from what you already said, but you gave, I think, more depth in there, and I do appreciate both your all's responses to give me more clarity and a little bit better feeling on it. Thank you.
We have two final questions, Representative Watkins and then Representative Hancock.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two really brief questions, if I may. I'll start with the first and ask permission for the second. You talked about jobs. Can you ballpark how many jobs we're talking about?
I'll let Mr. Holbrook handle that.
Well, we're talking 300 to 400 jobs for the duration of the project. But if I could expand a little bit while I'm speaking, is that okay? Just real quickly, we do view it as a labor bill, and not just for the immediate jobs. We view it also as giving reliable energy that would help us with attracting heavy manufacturing to the area. And with that heavy manufacturing, that would give long-term jobs, not only the construction, but permanent jobs, and maybe help with stopping the bleeding of the migration away from Eastern Kentucky. Therefore, twofold helping with this energy rate issue, because we're losing residents, so it's leaving fewer of us to pay those bills. We would have more residents if we had more jobs, and also we'd have heavy manufacturing with heavy energy users. So therefore a level up, if you will. So we truly support this bill, and I just wanted to throw that in there. If I appreciate you allowing me to do that for just a second.
Thank you.
And just a really quick follow-up, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
On the sub, on page 7 and 8, it strikes a line that's interesting to me about the cap of securitization from like 200 million. It goes for a single asset up to 275 million. Striking that threshold to me says that a utility could securitize something that is of lower value. So this could be like a routine charge. And I guess what I'm concerned about, I'm a Louisville-based legislator. I'm not in Eastern Kentucky. We don't share the same problems in this case, but we all are bearing the cost, and our constituents are bearing the concerns about bills. Our folks cannot afford this stuff. So I'm concerned about a utility's ability to charge routinely on a securitization for like routine costs. Is my understanding incorrect?
Go ahead.
If I may, the securitization is for specific.
Pull your mic closer to you.
Yeah, securitization is for specific assets, like the Mitchell Power Plant, and like what are called regulatory assets, and those are monies that the consumer owes the utility. And so what the bill does is allows Kentucky Power to refinance both of those things, the Mitchell Power Plant and the money that consumers owe the utility at a lower interest rate. And that's how it saves money.
Okay, Representative Hancock, lastly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Has the Public Service Commission conducted an independent analysis showing that the securitization, these costs plus building new generation will actually lower customer bills overall? And if not, how can you all claim that this is the least cost path for the ratepayers?
They would have to do that once this bill is implemented. So it would be, if this were to become, this measure would become law, they would have to do that then upon application. It does have an emergency clause, so if it as the measure stands now, if it were to pass, it would be upon that utility to ask the PSC to do those things. So I guess no, but I guess that's kind of the cart before the horse type scenario. So that would have to be done if this were to be enacted into law.
And let me follow up by saying that we now have EPIC in place that does much of the same types of things to make sure that the Public Service Commission is making those proper decisions.
Can I address that? Okay. I don't think.
Okay. All right. If no further questions, We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended by the committee sub. Ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative Baker,
May I explain my vote, please?
Sure.
I'm a yes today to continue the conversation, but I need to look into a few more things before we get to the floor. Thank you.
Representative Ballman,
Yes.
Representative Blanton, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Bridges,
Yes.
Representative Chester Burton,
Explain my vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at the information in the packet from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is why I'm a yes today. Thank you.
Representative Dossett,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to report my attendance, and I am a yes.
Representative Flannery,
Yes.
Representative Fugate,
No.
Representative Hancock,
May I explain my vote?
Yes.
I'm going to be a yes today because I think there are a lot of really good things here. I think we have a real affordability crisis in our state. I'm hopeful that this will help fix that. I'm not convinced 100% that it will in the short term versus long term. I just think that we need to be cautious, especially with the affordability issue. So I'll be a yes today, but reserve the right to change on the House floor. Thank you.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Miles, Representative Moore,
Wish to explain my vote.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'm a yes today also, and I really do like that 2-year rate freeze. My good friend here talked about there's a real need, and those rates are going up too fast. So I appreciate that. You two answered my question in a way that helped me know that it's not just going to be submitted to the PSE, but that proposals are going to be submitted to us, to the Attorney General, and to the new EPIC Commission as well. And then additionally, just the opportunity, as you said, a jobs bill, getting good paying union jobs there in Kentucky where it's needed. So for those reasons, I'm a yes today. Thank you.
Representative Smith, Representative Watkins,
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm really torn on this bill. I have some other questions. So my ask to the sponsors just, can we continue to talk about this before we get to the floor? I'll be a yes today.
Representative Wesley,
Can I explain my vote?
Yes.
It saddens me that there would be comments made by Kentucky Power that they have had record margins, basically bragging on how much money they have made, and here we are debating on how can we help our people back home in eastern Kentucky. And I wish there was a quick fix. I appreciate the representatives bringing this. I really do. We do need help back in eastern Kentucky. Appreciate everything you could do, and I gave my word I'd be a yes vote today, but I can't promise anything on the floor. And there's other things brought to my attention on that, and I'm sure you guys understand that. But I just hope that we can come to something that we can fix this problem that we have back home. So I want to thank all of you for coming today. So I'll just go ahead and record yes today, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Whitaker, Representative White, Representative Williams,
Yes.
and Chair Gooch.
Yes. Quite, it does pass with, 16 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 3 passes. Okay. So, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee.
The next and last item on the agenda is a House Joint Resolution 77. Yes, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tom Smith from the 86th District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Fugate, House District 84.
Proceed.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really, it seems like this is a lengthy joint resolution, but actually what we had done, Representative Fugate and I, we've asked EPIC, you've heard their name mentioned today, this commission that was formed last session. We've asked them to come into eastern Kentucky and look at the whole scope of what's going on with our electric grid, what our options are, with the appetite in Washington looking at coal-fired generators. We know the president is pushing that as a form of for our electric grid, for energy. I think this is an opportune time for us to be giving this commission a task, and that is to find out if that's a.
We have a motion and a second on the bill.
Good.
Representative Moore again?
Thank you for your leeway, Mr. Chairman. I do appreciate it. I'm for this. I'm going to be a yes on this today. This specifically just deals essentially with coal assets and coal resources by my reading. But I know a big thing we've talked about ad nauseum is affordability of energy there in that part of the state. Is it germane to this to consider alternative energy sources as well, whether that's combined cycle gas plants or renewables or other things? Or is this like, no, Rep. Moore, we only could stick to coal when we're talking about this resolution today?
No, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that. I appreciate that question. I guess when we talk about Eastern Kentucky, we talk about jobs, and when we talk about coal, so it's kind of like we're in a bubble. But we're on looking at our energy. We're outside that bubble. Gas is we produce gas in Eastern Kentucky, yet it's not being burnt in these coal-fired or these generators. So it's also tasking them to look at gathering systems, look at all energy possibly be used in Eastern Kentucky.
Thank you so much.
Representative Miles?
Thank you, Chairman. I think that I've been going back and forth with the director of EPIC this morning, just kind of checking in on this and ask if there was anything. They are very, very interested in already having this part of their plan, and so I just want to thank you all for bringing it forward. Obviously, we're as concerned about East Kentucky as we are West Kentucky and everything above, but I think the planning of this is, hopefully we'll have some good data to work on, solutions for the entire state. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Let me follow up on what Representative Miles said. I had concerns about this resolution early on because there was so much emphasis on just East Kentucky, and I totally understand the problems that you folks have up there, and I'm supportive in any way that I can be to try to help you with your problem. But I think, when we have things in place like PSC or EPIC, utilities all kind of work together a lot more than we think. We have, PJM supplies your area, MISO supplies most of West Kentucky, and of course you have TVA and some of those other things out there. So it kind of all works together a little bit. But I was a little concerned that, EPIC's only been, we passed it a couple of years ago, but it took a long time for the governor to get a lot of the appointments in place. Many of them have just now gotten in place. Some people have just been hired. And I was a little afraid with the timeline of them doing all this study and then reporting back to us in December of this year. But I have reached out to EPIC and have been said it's okay to read this statement. EPIC is already doing the work that lines up with this resolution, looking at energy demand, power supply, and transmission infrastructure across the entire state. East Kentucky is a big part of that picture, given its generation resources and the energy costs residents face. This resolution just makes that connection official while keeping EPIC's focus where it belongs, on energy adequacy for the entire Commonwealth. And so I think that clarifies that they are already doing much of the work that you're asking for here, and so I no longer have as many serious reservations about how quick we're going to have to operate, since they're doing much of this already. So with that, we do have a motion and a second on the bill. There wasn't a sub or anything on this one. Okay. Ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Representative Baker?
Yes.
Representative Ballman?
Yes.
Representative Blanton? Representative Bowling?
Yes.
Representative Bridges?
Yes.
Representative Chester Burton?
Yes.
Representative Dossett? Representative Flannery?
Vote yes.
Representative Fugate?
Yes.
Representative Hancock?
Yes.
Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Miles?
Yes.
Representative Moore?
Yes.
Representative Smith? Representative Watkins?
Yes.
Representative Wesley? Representative Whitaker?
Yes.
Representative White? Representative Williams?
Yes.
And Chair Gooch.
Yes. The resolution does pass with favorable expression that same should pass on the House floor. Let me thank the committee. We did 4 bills in 45 minutes. I think that's pretty good, and I appreciate your indulgence and appreciate your hard work and your willingness to move things along. This meeting is adjourned.